Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tropic Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Tuesday, May 17th. Very nice day for stocks today. SPY was up 2%, Qs were up 2.6%, IWM was up over 3%, 3.1%. IWC microcaps were the big outperformer there, up 3.4%. Yields were actually higher. Stocks really kind of looked the other way today. Yields were higher. Bond prices were lower. TLT down 1.2%, and the VIX was lower today by another 5%. So VIX continues to move down. Theme of the, and first of all, risk disclaimer right in front of you. Please read through the whole thing here. But bottom line is everything that we're talking about is for information or education purposes only. So yes, theme of the day, gap days are always a bit tricky, right? China was up overnight. European markets were up decently to the open. So there was a little bit of profit taking, but we kind of held firm for the day and closed on the highs. So excuse me. So here was the open, right? So 930. This has been very traditional, especially with what we've been dealing with stocks this year, right? We've got a bear market. The indices are still in downtrends. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we see. And what's different, over the last couple of days is that when the market has started to go down over the last few weeks, it has stayed down, right? And it's gotten hit pretty hard. And then there's little fight back. There's a bit more fight back at this point. To me, that tells me that maybe some of these sellers have gotten a little bit exhausted, right? We know that we've seen a bunch of outflows all over the place. If you look at some of these 13F filings that have come out, right, a lot of these funds have been selling tech, have been selling growth, going a bit more into value areas of the market, particularly energy, right? So you've got the proof. Remember, when you're looking at ETF fund flows and things like that, I track ETF fund flows, which, also that indicates some unwinding. There was, $4 billion that were put into the T-bill ETF over the last month, specifically $1 billion over the last week, right? And if you look at these outstanding shares, which I don't think I have the chart, I do still have the chart up. This is another one of the short-term ETFs, but here's another one. Again, this is the outstanding shares, right? So it's not the price action or anything like that. It's how much the fund is growing, right? Here was the big move that we saw. Investors really went into all types of short-term bond ETFs, cash equivalents, right? Bills are cash, short-term cash equivalents. I actually own some of this in the TTG trend portfolio, right? I use that for my cash allocation, right? So this is the movement that we've seen, that we saw, in March of 2020, March, April, right? We're seeing a similar move, right? And you kind of know what happened after that, right? Once everybody moves into cash, equities rallied a bit. So I think that's, again, this is just another piece of the puzzle that we look at, right? And the same thing when you look at the Bank of America Global Fund Manager Survey, a very widely read report. They're kind of indicating the same thing, is that they're seeing a lot of investors go into cash. Sentiment got very low. So that kind of leads us to this kind of price action that we're seeing right now. So where could we be going next? Well, I like to look at a couple different charts that will just give you some levels to watch. The 1 hour chart kind of just really helps me see that direction up close and personal. And I think as long as we stay above 40.48, remember we talked about this in yesterday's video, saying that we were going to need to get above that. So we are above that level, 40.48. So what's the next level to watch? Well, you're going to see a couple of things line up here, right? One of which is is a virgin point of control. This is from last week's value area. So price barely was even inside the value area, let alone crossing over the point of control. That is right around 41.48. Also, you've got an extension here away from the value area. That's at 41.40. So remember that level, right? As we go over to the daily chart, take a look at the 20-day moving average. Now, this is a little bit of a moving target, but that's right around 41.33, All right, do you see, that's kind of lining up on multiple time frames. That's also represents kind of the breakdown in here. So that's where if the momentum kind of continues here in the market, that's where I could see us moving up to. And then we kind of have to wait and see a little bit, right? So, of course, first things first, last week we took out the VPOC. Then on Friday, we got above the 5-period moving average, which indicates a short-term trend change, right? The next thing that we've got to watch is the 20-day moving average. Notice the last time price tried to get above the 20-day moving average, also into the bottom of value, it got firmly rejected. Let's talk a little bit about NASDAQ for a minute, right? And we could, of course, look at the Qs too. I know many of you look more at the Qs, but notice that we actually did get above value here, right? So we were kind of stuck there. We hit this right at 6 o'clock in the morning, backed off a little bit. We tried again at the 9 o'clock hour, and you could see that that got rejected, just wasn't ready to do that. And then we kind of moved up a little bit, all over the place with Powell speaking. He gave his speech. They're really, and here's the move down. So again, it's whippy mark. I laugh, I chuckle because this isn't a straight up market. It's back and forth. Whippy price action, just like we talked about in yesterday's video too. But we kind of touched the highs, got rejected, made a little bit of a higher low for the day. So this is a little bit of hindsight trading. I tried a couple things here at the end of the day, but I think I was a little bit late. I wanted to wait till kind of Powell was done speaking, but you could see these three 5-minute bars, which equals 15 minutes, right? That's where the majority of the rip happened. And then after that, it was kind of just a little bit slow there at the end of the day. But you could see we're kind of back at the highs at this point. So let's go back to this a second. And by the way, what did Powell say today, right? Did we get anything new that we didn't already know? I was joking around in the trading room because I like to, a trader asked like, hey, what do you think is what do you think he's going to say? He's going to say the same things that we've been hearing all along, right? We know that they're very worried about inflation. They want to bring inflation down, right? They're going to be raising interest rates. They want to get prices lower, right? This is the song and dance that we know. Now, these are not good things for equities, but you have to ask yourself how much is priced in to this market, right? How much have already investors basically adjusted to that? And I think at this point, what they're saying is, from what I can tell, is that another couple 50 basis point rate hikes, and then they're going to see, if they've done any good in terms of bringing down that inflation, right? And of course, another thing that came out of the Bank of America Fund Manager Survey was the word stagflation, right? Inflation without growth. Well, we had some economics today, and they weren't terrible, right? They were actually pretty decent. Right. So if you look at the economics, right, I just came back from a Vegas trip, right, where I spoke at the FinTwit conference, right? I'll tell you, the airports are packed, right? So, maybe that will come, and we were talking about that earlier. I was chatting with the Benzinga folks earlier today, did a chart session with those guys, right? But maybe eventually what happens is kind of, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where you keep talking about the possibility of recession, people start to spend a little bit less, right? That's a possibility. But I could tell you, all the flights were packed, right? It was very difficult. Like I actually wanted to change my flight, impossible, right? And flights are going for like crazy, high prices. So someone said to me like a couple of days ago when I was talking about this, they're like, one and done. I see people traveling more and more. So I get everybody wants to be an expert and think, oh my God, that's it. I'm going to do this one trip and I'm not going to do another. Right. I've got this, again, I'm just talking about, this year, I've got family and friends that want to do a lot more traveling. So, we'll see how it plays out, but perhaps just in terms of positioning, right? We got a lot of doom and gloom priced into this market. I'm not saying that we blast off to the upside, and that's why I'm going over levels and providing some things. But just like in this Qs, 305.15, if we could stay above there, we've got some open road, possibly to 317, right? Which is a version point of control that also lines up with somewhere between the 20-day moving average and the bottom of value. So again, I'm not saying that we retake the uptrend or anything like that. Just for now, the bounce is playing out. Let's talk about a couple names today. All right, let's talk about first. Here's some of the areas that outperformed. You had biotech, which is up over 4%. You had semis up 4%. So this was more of a risk-on move today. Yesterday, it was more value that outperformed. Today was growth. They both performed pretty well, but large cap growth was up 2.4%. Value was up 1.6%. So semis, even the blockchain stocks in there, and even the banks did okay today too. Right, they're kind of coming off the lows too, helped by Mr. Buffett adding a stake in Citigroup. All right, so let's talk about a couple of these. So first of all, AMD got an upgrade, right? This carried very nicely, was up over 8%, above the 50-day moving average, above the top of value. A little bit of a double bottom in here. Maybe we could see 107, 113 next, right? What do? Right, as traders, we have a stop price in mind. Right, we're not just shooting for the moon. If I were to take a trade here in AMD, I would have my stop price right around 99. Okay, and then looking for these upside levels. All right, a couple other names that look pretty good in this group. Broadcom. Right, Broadcom is in an uptrend. Right, and it actually closed above its value area. I would be setting my stop to right around 605, maybe a little bit, maybe giving myself a little bit more tolerance, or even maybe giving it the 50-day moving average if I really want to give myself a little bit more tolerance. But this thing looks pretty decent, right? ON Semi, that's a name I bought on Friday. That had a nice day today, up 6%. Right, and there's a few others. I actually tried playing MRVL at the end of the day, just couldn't get. It actually closed okay, but I'll keep an eye on this one, still in a downtrend. All right. Next group, a couple of the names that I thought. So yesterday we talked about the chemical names, right? I know this is not high growth, but look at these chemical names go. CC was up 5.6%, right? We covered that in yesterday's video, right? Dow was up 3%. Wait for Dow always takes a while. OLN had a nice day today, up 4%. All right. So again, this is where I see where the strength is. And this looks, nice little handle here. Maybe cup, a little bit of a handle. Very nice there in OLN. What's the other name that I'm thinking of? LYB also moved out and above value, also up 3.7% for the day. So very, very nice. Energy stocks, I took some profits in a couple of those. I had Halliburton on today. I just thought maybe we might see a little bit of a rotation out of this group. I also saw crude kind of come in a little bit, actually finished down on the session, hit this extension away from the value area, which is at 114.66. So I took some profits. I was long PSX for a couple of weeks. That one worked well. What about the pharma stocks? Look at Merck, continues to go higher, although it looks like it didn't close on the highs, but still up higher. Bristol Myers, which I've been in for a while, this did close above value. Very nice look here. Right, I did take a target on this move today because I've seen some, right around like this afternoon, I think before Powell spoke, just so I locked something in, but very, very nice. I also got out of my Deere position, up another 2.6%. There's a virgin point of control. I think that's right in its face. So I'm not going to mess with that. This is fine getting out of just a little bit shy of that. Nucor was a nice mover for me today, up 4%. Closed right around the bottom of value. So I kept a small piece on, but that's a nice move in here. A couple boring stocks, AT&T, right? And the options, we got into some options in this thing yesterday. They're not expensive. They're cheapies, right? So I think we could see a move up to 2180 or 2179. IBM also looks pretty good, right? IBM getting out of this range. A couple other stocks that I'm watching, no position in. Google, right? What is this Google going to do? Right, sitting here on the bottom of value, was up 1.7%. Most of the FANG stocks didn't do anything today, except for the last until, that 15 minutes that I mentioned. Weekly bar, it's just sitting here, right around 22.59. So that's a little bit too close for comfort for me. We'll see if it can kind of hold on to that. Moving back to a couple other material stocks, right? The lithium names. Look at this ALB on the weekly chart. Very, very nice, right? Made this, filled the earnings gap back up. Next stop, if it takes out this high, could be right around 249. Just a couple other ones too. First of all, LTH, LNTM, is it? I get these symbols confused. There it is. That's another, this is Levent, right? This is also back above the value area. This also had good earnings. All right, check out this name. This is Amdocs. Again, maybe a name that you probably, that you may have never traded before, right? It's, this is, it's tech, but I think it's tech consulting. All right, so this is Amdocs. IT services, product-driven information system solutions to major telecommunications. Interesting. Not an expensive name either. 19, right? WDC, Western Digital, right? Some big call spreads going up. I believe we saw that yesterday too, but making a nice move here up 5.7. Very good, because we added this in the TTG trend portfolio yesterday. All right. One name, I'll give you the one name that I missed out at. I really wanted to get involved in this name. This is a life insurance company, right? Had a nice earnings gap, came in here and, settled back in here. The problem was it gapped up, and I didn't want to chase a name, but look at it go, right? Another name that I'm watching in this group is CB, right? Which is Chubb. I must have missed this one, but I like this getting back inside value above the 50-day moving average, right? So these are what we call signals, right? I get questions all the time on names that are in downtrends that don't have a signal. Where's our signal in Chubb, right? Well, number one, it's above that downtrend line, right? Number two, it's above the 50-day moving average. Number three, it's inside value. Right. So we don't, for stocks, we never know what they're going to do. However, we know that there's some strength going into this name, right? What I would be looking for is a move up to 216, maybe take a target there and then reassess. And I know exactly where the trade is going to fail, right? Which is 209, right? There's a lot of this when I get, ticker requests. Hey, look at this or look at that. It's always like, making predictions and so forth. We want a signal, right? We want a level to trade against, and we want things to target, right? That's what we want, right? So, we can get into some other charts too at another time, but I think we're going to, we'll stop here. But I'll tell you, that's the name of the game, right? We're not looking to make predictions. We're not doing any of those things. And for me, I'm sticking to relative strength areas for now. Some of these names, tech names coming off the lows, right? Most of these for me are day trades, right? Names just coming off the lows, what's going to happen next? Just like we're talking about the Qs and S&P, right? They're going to hit overhead supply, right? We just have to, try to figure out where that is and have a plan as we go along, right? But that's the difference between looking at, a name that's getting back above the 50-day moving average, close to breaking out, versus areas of the market that are just way underwater in terms of where they've been and where they might rally up to, because there's going to be overhead supply. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. Have a great night. See you tomorrow. Oh, one thing I forgot to show. I don't think I showed the trade blotter, but here you go. Here's what I did today, just so that you could see. I think I'm the only one who does this. Of course, if you're a member of Tribeca Trade Group, you see all the trades that we're doing real time. I give notes, and I give sometimes I give what do you call it? Quick videos, right? Here was our trade entry for today in CF Industries, which did pretty well today. Kind of came off the didn't exactly get to the high, so I'm looking to take another target at 110, but there was some big calls that went up in both CF and Mosaic, so I was able to get this one. This was what was my entry? 106, I think, on this stock. 106, and I took a couple targets at this one. I was looking for 110, just didn't get there yet. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.